All right. Everybody hear me? I'm going to turn you on so if you talk,
Oh, okay.
it'll automatically. Oh, that's interesting.
Why?
Well, I turned you on.
And I turned everybody else off. That
It's
used to
gone
happen
to
all the
your,
time.
it's gone to your right.
It's the guest speaker.
It's,
Yeah. So Lou, just move one chair over.
Okay.
We're
but
gonna
then
do-
his microphone won't be in front of him.
No, we'll move the mic. I'm hoping
Oh,
it won't
no.
track the mic too much. We'll see what happens. It may be trying to balance.
I don't have to be on screen. What if I fall asleep?
Oh, you planning on doing that?
No, I'm not planning.
Let's see if I turn this one on. Well, that's center it. This is very funny. Sorry. Everybody watching on YouTube is going to get quite a treat.
Couldn't you just pick up the microphones and switch them?
I don't know. I don't trust them entirely. There's a focus supposedly on the mic. So I'm hoping that if I turn another one on, it'll pull it back toward me and will balance out. But it takes a second to load this up. Okay. That looks a little better. Okay. Yeah, so it's not, I don't know what caused it. You can pull that mic closer to you now.
Yeah.
You could come back even. I don't think.
I didn't want to.
You're good. Okay. Let me just get to my agenda here. So I'm going to call the Franklin Township Combined Historical Commission and HARB Zoom hybrid meeting to order at 7:08. And in attendance, in addition to myself, are Chuck Phillips, Nan Latimer, Sally Gallagher, Beth Scalish. Sarah Beth seems to have dropped off. I'll have to readmit her. Hang on. Sarah Beth. And a phone number was unidentified. Okay, Sarah Beth, we lost you there, and I'm sorry, I didn't notice you dropped out until I started taking roll.
Yeah,
Anyway.
sorry.
That's
It's
all right.
that it's an Oxford area internet quality stuff.
All right, we have, I guess, no members of the public. So I guess there's no public comment unless the person who's contacting by phone wants to make a comment.
She's just checking on your car warranty.
Ah,
That's all that is.
okay. So we'll proceed to the first item on our agenda, which is the approval of the prior minutes, which I actually have February, but this should be May. I didn't notice that on the agenda. That's what happens when you use an old agenda to make a new one. So we have the minutes from the May 7th meeting. Before we start, I thought I'd just ask, are there any changes that any members would like to have made to the minutes? No? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Mandich. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, so that's Lou, seconded by Chuck. Okay, I see Beth has got a thumb up already. All in favor, please signify either by a thumb up or saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Hmm.
Nay? Hearing no nays, the approval is unanimous. Thumb up is a rather cute touch, I must say. All right, so to begin with, we have a lot of items, but I personally don't have a lot to report. So there is,
Paul, so Kathy Goen just texted me. It's that she's the number.
she's the number. Okay.
And
Well,
she's muted. She said, I don't know why.
yeah, she is muted.
Did you mute her
can
or?
see, I didn't mute her. Let me see if I can unmute her. Okay. I don't usually. I can ask her to unmute. I cannot unmute her. So it's something at her end.
Okay, well, she knows because she's listening. So if she can do it,
Well,
I
she's bringing me there, but yes, let
I
me
am,
just repeat.
I am unmuted now.
Okay.
There
Hey
you
guys,
go.
it's Kathy Goen.
All
Hey
right.
guys, nice to hear all your voices. I'm on the phone and thanks.
All right. So Kathy, I'll put you down as attending because
I'm here.
yeah, I thought it was maybe Jeff checking. Jeff sometimes drops in just to make sure everything is going smoothly. And that's why I try and watch the participants up there. We seem to have lost Sarah Beth again.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll watch for her return. Anyway, I don't have anything to report on the first item, which is historic resource surveys. Nothing has happened on that, as has been the case for the last many months, really. On the Churchill African Cemetery topic, we sort of got stuck after our last meeting and our initial marking of some graves, and I really didn't have a good weekend to get out there and spray poison ivy, so that's not happened. But I would like to try and start something up perhaps in October. I'm not going to be in a position to do anything before then because a combination of travel and surgery is going to sort of take me out of commission for the rest of September. So I have to have hand surgery again, which seems to be something I do every 2 years.
Does it work?
For 2 years.
Dear.
Actually, it's worked on the other hand, so I'm hoping it'll work on this one. Yeah.
So I plan to go out. I haven't been out since we were out just to check it out and see what's
Right.
going on. I had the opportunity to take a class on invasive species at Mount Cuba for several weeks. It's keeping me up sleepless nights, but I kind of know how to attack some things, at least to try to control it.
Okay,
This-
that's good to know.
Yeah, and it's a good time for us to, or me or whatever, get in there. If we cut the woody stuff, it's a
Right.
good time to cut it and treat it because they're trying to get ready for winter. So they suck the herbicide into the roots, and
Okay.
it will kill them better than doing it in the spring. So I have a fella who's graduated from high school who's not ready to go to technical school yet, who's helping me. And he's really good. He's very careful, very good. And so I'm going to take Luke with me and see what we can do at
Yeah,
some point.
there's plenty of woody invasive
Woody
stuff
yeah.
that could be killed off. So
Right.
have at it, you know.
And
And
I
if
thought,
you-
just to start, cutting it and treating it
Right.
and making our way into the And then I don't know, the other thing is all those big logs. He's handy with a chainsaw, but some of those trees are pretty big.
Yeah, and I could work on some of them. I think that for right now, I'd worry about getting the brush because we can't even begin to move the logs out until we have good, clear, safe paths to, you know, to roll sections of the logs out. And at least one of the fallen trees has a nice, healthy poison ivy vine on it.
Mm.
Right.
So I wouldn't even mess with that one until the poison ivy vine is good and dead.
It's
And we
never
maybe-
dead though, Paul. Poison
Well,
ivy never
even
dies.
I know. Well, it
But,
does.
but Luke is he's not allergic to poison ivy. I've seen him
Lucky man.
taking a vine down here that looks like Tarzan and he doesn't get it. So he
Wow.
might be our man to go in there and try to get rid of it that way. But I thought it's on my list. He's got some things to do here at the farm first. And then I thought I'd take him down. I think he'd be interested in the project. So
Okay, so let everybody know in case somebody else can
Sure.
come and help out.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I think that sounds like really good news. The other thing we've got to do is it's one thing to get the brush cut, but we've kind of got to get it out of there.
well, I can take it home. I don't want to burn
okay.
poison ivy here because I'm allergic to it. If it burns here, then I'll get covered with it. But
Right.
if we bring tarps down and we can tie it up and throw it in the back of the pickup truck, I'm not opposed to burning it here.
Yeah, and I'm fine with burn, like, I can burn some too, and as long as it's not poison
Poison
ivy.
ivy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So we'll just have to see. I mean, I think that you know, Luke's really good. I'll take him down there. He's a good eye for trying to figure out what you know, how to do it. I don't know. Do you think with all the big wood, the logs and the trees and everything, do you think there's Franklinites that want to come and take some of it for their wood stoves?
I think that there might be, but much of what has fallen is rotten. So we would, and the one tree I'm sure is in really good shape is the one that's got the poison ivy vine on it.
Of course.
But I'm sure there are some that are good, and so if we get to the point where we've got a clear path and we can work some of it out, we could certainly use the township website to shop that around, and maybe even I don't know, maybe we could put a clipboard at our historical commission table with asking for, you know, names and numbers of people who might
Yeah.
be interested in wood.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just say, yeah, we'll let them know.
Right.
Try to get it out of there. Yeah, because I don't. The other thing I'm worried about up there is remember there's that bee's nest. I don't want to get stung. That bee's nest in that.
Well, but that's in a tree that was upright. So
Well,
once
they
we
get
get,
crazy in the fall though. I don't want to get stung.
no, but it's, I mean, if we're, I think it, you know, as long as we watch for the bees, and then once it's winter, it'll be easier to move wood in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so we'll try to get the shrubbery out of there and at least treated.
Is it bees or wasps?
I don't.
Uh,
They could be ground hornets. I'm not sure what they are. They could be yellow
Yeah.
jackets.
Yeah, they could be yellow jackets. They could also just be bees because they're sort of in a tree cavity.
Well, I
but-
don't know. They could be yellow jackets,
Yeah.
So bees are protected,
but yellow jackets aren't.
correct? Honeybees are protected. And it's not that difficult to get rid of them. All you have to do is contact an actual somebody
person.
who, yeah, beekeeper. And they will typically do it. But yeah, they are protected. It's illegal to
Right. Well, I'm
to
not
kill
gonna
them.
spray it. It's a pretty big nest. No, so whatever it is, no, it's not. I'm not gonna try
Yeah,
to.
and if it's honeybees, all they do is they go in and they take most of the workers, but they get the queen. Once you get the queen,
to go away.
the workers get confused and try to find another hive to join.
Okay. Okay.
Well, that's good to know. I wasn't really planning on eradicating them, but
No, nor would I.
Yeah, I just I almost did it, not knowing. I thought they were yellow jackets, and surprise, they were honeybees. So
Is there anything else concerning Churchill that?
Well, one thing is that I'd still like to go over to Galilee now that things are
Right.
getting back to normal. So I know Sally wanted to go, and maybe you, but yeah. So we got to kind of pick a date and try to contact them. I wonder how they did with the flood over there in Avondale, you know, with that big rainstorm, that whole area got flooded.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never haven't driven back there.
It looks all right. I drove back there the other day.
Okay.
Sharon Norris works for Avondale Borough and she let me know, and I tried to go and do a donation, but there was a Red Cross trailer, but I guess, I don't know.
Sharon Beth is back.
Oh, anyways, so that's on the list too, to get to the church service and talk to them and get them folks interested there too as well.
Yeah, and to let them know the information that we've got collected.
Yeah.
I was actually updating, it's information we already know, but for example, we didn't have any of the information that's on the headstones recorded in the spreadsheet. So one day I just went and added that information. We indicated that there was a headstone, but we hadn't actually filled in that field. So that's now there too. Okay.
Sorry.
No, another country heard from. So there's nothing further to report at the moment about the Mount Olivet cleanup. I haven't heard anything about a potential cleanup. I know that Chuck McFall had talked about doing it, but and he did say he would get in touch with me. If nothing else, if they want to get more than one car down there, they have to get the township to open up the road. So because they've now got a new improved gate that sits closer to the road. So that's, that's a good reason to get in touch with somebody anyway. On the Mason-Dixon Art Corner connectivity project, the public Zoom meeting was very poorly attended. So that was a little disappointing. They had maybe 20 people, of whom half were associated with the project. So the number of people who joined that was kind of low. There's going to be a meeting in September to further discuss the sort of facilities that could be constructed to emphasize the historic aspects of the resources associated with trails. I'm hoping that we could convince DCNR to at least send a spur out to one of the Mason-Dixon monuments that are on the south edge of the Big Elk. There hasn't been a new trail plan since, I guess, almost a year ago. It was maybe November when they did the public presentation. Or was it December? I can't remember for certain. But the trails that were presented didn't go as close as the state line, although there's one trail I believe that's fairly close. And it would be nice if we could get them to push a spur out to a monument, because as far as I know, these are the only 3 Mason-Dixon line monuments that are in the state park system. So something worth seeing, I think, given that they are older than the United States as a nation. So that's kind of it with that. I don't know that anybody have anything that they want to say about the 896 roadwork and a walkable Kemmelsville? I think most of that's sort of in a stasis at the moment.
Do we know what the timing is?
Well, it was my understanding that the roadwork was slated to begin in the spring of next year. And then I believe it's supposed to take perhaps 2 years to complete. At one point, I thought it was 18 months, but the last time I heard, I think it was 2 years. It's going to be, they have a number of intersections that they have to shut down in order to work on them. The Kemmelsville is one of them. 841 is another big one. And there are a couple other stretches. I think the stretch that goes by Sarah Beth's house is slated to be sort of shut down for a while.
I have to get my act together and get before the supervisors. I'm very concerned about the grindings. Because what happens is that state comes in, grinds the road, or the township grinds the road, and then they just find the nearest person who is willing to take those grindings, and those grindings just end up being more impervious surface everywhere. I mean, the amount of impervious surface that's being added to the township on every time there's a road project it's pretty damaging. So I don't know. I have to get myself together to do that.
People are using it for new roads or just to resurface what they already have?
New.
Really?
Yeah. We've already had it come into the planning board where somebody added, I want to say 8,000 square foot.
Wow.
It doesn't take much. I mean, so all they start doing is just putting it down for farm roads and stuff like that. And it's impervious. It's not gravel. And it's free.
Right.
I mean, the Hocking farm over here has a pile of it. I'm not sure we can call it a farm anymore. I think we have to call it a quarry. I mean, it's mass. The amount of grindings that come off the road is substantial, and the state just sees it as, the closer they can dump it, the better off they are. So I don't know. I don't know
What do they do with it if they can't dump it?
Well, they should bring it someplace where it's going to be used properly. So it's a recycling material. It should be brought to a recycling facility as opposed to simply, there should be a plan. I don't know. To me, it seems like, I mean, we had this big scare that we had too much impervious being added to the township, and we were going to have to pay millions and millions of dollars to rectify that. And at the same time, we're adding a substantial amount. And the amount of grindings that are going to go on 896 is just going to be staggering.
Yeah.
And to not know where, know where those grindings are going to go, just they would just simply go to whoever's willing to take them. Just seems like a formula for disaster, but
This is just a question. If there's a dirt road in the township that they might otherwise pave, is it better to put the grindings on that road than pave the road? I don't know if there is such a thing anymore. There used to be, so many dirt roads in East and West Marlborough Township that they had a road grader to grade them every year. But is it better to put the grindings down than to pave the road if there's a choice?
Um, so a road is impervious also because it's compacted. So
Okay,
it in fact wouldn't change anything. So that would be in my mind, that's a pretty good use of it. Um, it's more when it's put down literally on an unpaved surface that was previously unpaved, and somebody just simply uses it to do that for whatever purpose. I mean, because it doesn't require it's what's happening is it's not requiring permits. Township's not catching it. It's free. And so it goes down, anybody that has the equipment to put it down, they're, I don't know, around here within earshot, I've witnessed 2 large properties that have done it. So I got to think, I can't think that, I can't assume that Chesterville's the only, it's the only place this is happening. I got to think this is happening everywhere.
Mhm.
The other thought I had was, well, if they grind it, maybe they could put it along the road, and pedestrians could walk along, could jump off the road there. But
well, that's true. It could make a much nicer shoulder than, yeah.
yeah,
Put it on the shoulder and roll it.
yeah, right where you're working. But that's probably not a conversation for this committee, but I don't know if anybody else has a concern.
Well, as you say, it's a potential problem if we end up with a lot of impervious surface. It strikes me that there ought to be some concern.
I'm not sure people really understand that when they get the free grindings that it's impervious surface.
No, I understand that.
Because they tried to sell it to me when the pipeline came for my stone driveway,
Mhm.
my gravel driveway. And I said, no, it's a 30-year-old gravel driveway. It does very well. Don't put that stuff down.
Yeah.
They did try to sell it to me. Not
No,
sell
but
it
I'm just thinking from
for free.
the township, from the township's point of view, since ultimately, if it ends up costing the township, it's going to end up costing the taxpayers, that there's an incentive to at least understand where it's going. And to make sure that it's used in a way that is properly permitted so that we know what's happening. That was basically what I was thinking. I mean, I don't really expect individual property owners to be terribly aware of all the ins and outs of things like this, given that I think a lot of people aren't. I know there are other things that they're not aware of. Yeah, so I just, but if the township can at least know where it's going, they can know if they've got a potential problem. I mean, it's all being shipped out of the township. It becomes someone else's problem, but I think it's probably unlikely, given what they're going to have to, mill off the road surface, that it's all going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it's like any other product that you get rid of. You have to get rid of it responsibly. You can't just dump. I mean, that's not allowed.
Can't it be turned back into new asphalt?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a good thing that we're doing it. It definitely can be recycled, but it's not, if you simply don't.
No, I agree. It's a kind of dumping.
I mean, I think Exactly. I think, I mean, this is the state doing it. I think that the township also should not engage in it. I don't know if we do it or not. I usually witness it when it's state because it's a little bit bigger process going on, but the state knows what they're doing. I mean, we need to say, knock it off, I think.
Mhm.
Tell PennDOT that, no, you can't just dump. You just, I mean, I'm in the construction world. We're not allowed to just take construction debris and drive down the road and dump it at our neighbor's house. If they say it's okay, you're not allowed to do that. So I don't know why the state's doing that. Like I said, it's not really our jurisdiction. So I'm not going to comment anymore. But thanks for listening.
Yeah. The next item, raising awareness of Kemblesville and Franklin history. We have a new brochure on the Mason-Dixon line, which I also hope to get out to a couple locations now that it's completed. And it will be available at the Fall Festival, which is, I guess, I also have that down under township history, but it's easily discussed here as there. We're going to have a table. We're going to have our own little 10 by 10 tent this time, positioned around the outside edge of the ball field infield. So we're going to be somewhere there. And a lot of these tents, the pro tent, will be mixed in with vendors, which in theory creates more and more varied traffic coming to the township tents. So that sounds like a good idea. I sat down with the maps and I've marked some present day roads with their names on the 1873 and 1883 map. So if somebody stops by, they can have an easier time perhaps of trying to figure out where their current house would have been on the 1883 or 1873 map. Because that was the biggest problem with those. People were interested in them, but couldn't make sense of them.
People were really interested in finding out where they live.
Yeah.
Could you mark on the map, you are here, just put a place where the park is?
Actually, I put a little X in a
Good.
circle.
Perfect.
It's a kind of approximation because,
Right.
but yeah, I actually did that. I didn't write you are here, but it's something to refer to.
Right.
And you know, and they were, you know, main roads. So I have like the 841 and 896 referred to by route numbers. But then enough roads coming off of them that you can sort of break up the township into smaller quadrants and see where you are. So I'm hoping that will work. It would have gotten messy to mark too many roads because I start running magic marker all over the place, and there's a limited number of colors I can use. So
yeah, people were real interested in that.
What was what's your original electronically? What is your, are you starting with something electronic?
So yeah, so we start with a decent scanned image of the two maps. The township prints them out on a piece of paper using the large printer here. And so they end up being, you know, 3 by 3. They end up being big.
If you send it to me,
Yeah.
there's an outside chance that I may be able to ghost one on top of the other.
Okay, so I can send you the images, but you know, at least in terms of laying this out on the top of on I mean, you can try that, but then we'd have to get that reprinted to use it in person. Would that be more of a electronic thing or
So, so I could definitely, so there's a chance I could get them to ghost on top, one on top of the other,
okay.
and then send that over to Jeff, and he would simply print that off on the printer.
So
So
when
you-
you say you were going to ghost them one on top of the other, are you going to ghost the two maps on top of each other? Or are you going to ghost one of the old maps on say a modern day map of the same area?
Yeah, I think it would read a little bit better if we were to ghost the old map on top of a modern.
Right, because then you can actually see where the neighborhoods fall. The
Yeah.
problem is these roads don't run, in the old maps, they don't run perfectly. They don't follow the same path entirely that the modern road follows. I discovered
Which that'd be cool to see anyways.
yeah, because there's one intersection, I think Churchill and Auburn. I can't remember. It's something that's a T or not really a T, like a crossroad, a true crossroads today. But the roads that, excuse me, are the modern roads on the old maps, they're actually running in the same roadbed for some distance before they separate. And so I don't know, that would be interesting to see, because it's too difficult for me to try and figure out where the actual crossroads currently is, but there is no true crossroads. It's like they join up, they run parallel, and then one runs off one way and one runs off the other way. They don't actually cross each other.
Two T's instead of one.
Yeah,
X.
two T's instead of one X, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
they-
yeah, I can do that. I will send you the image files, or if they're too big to send, I might have to put them up on Dropbox or something and send you the link.
Sure. It's just a chance. I
Yeah,
play with a
No,
lot of
why not?
imagery, and I can sometimes I can get it to ghost. So if I can get
so if that works out, just give Stacy Hollis a call,
Mhm.
because she'll be the one who ends up probably printing it out.
Okay.
And you might find you have to bring it in on a thumb drive if it's a big file, or arrange again for having her to download it from
I also have secrets for that too.
okay.
You can reduce.
Yeah, I know you can do that. I'm sometimes reluctant to do that only because it doesn't always blow up well.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Something else?
I've just never have run into that actually.
Okay, well, that's good.
I've never run into when I reduced the size that it degraded.
Okay,
That you could see any difference.
Okay.
So yeah, it seems like 9 times out of, well, I've just never run into where I routinely print it one way and then it's too big and I just redo it and you can't tell. It's the same print. I'm not sure why. Why?
no, that's fine. I mean, I know you were able to reduce the size of the PDF of the the church record book,
Yeah,
which is really great.
yeah, it's just because I have a software that does PDFs that does a lot of stuff with PDFs. So
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I'll get this stuff to you. I've got a note here, which I'm actually going to highlight in red. So,
because I think that would answer people's question pretty quickly.
yeah,
They would be able to see exactly. All they have to do is be able to find their house on a modern map.
right. All right. So if anybody else wants to, I know Sally said she wasn't going to be available, but I'd be happy to have someone come out and sit with me there if anybody's free.
I'll
So,
come.
okay. You might get the chance to meet my granddaughter.
That's good. I'll never-
She's gonna be staying with us because on, her parents are gonna go down to Baltimore for a wedding. And so, it's, it depends on what Willa decides to do, but, I think, bringing her out there would be enough to keep her busy. And she's always a sucker for a free frozen treat, which they had some last year. So if they have some this year, she'll be a very happy camper.
Yeah. What time's it start? 12?
12, yeah. I'll be there probably to set up a little before that, but I probably won't need any help setting up. It's fairly straightforward. So if you're there around 12 or so, that'll be fine.
All right.
We came last year, but I forget where it was.
It's in
Spot now.
the park, Crossing Park.
Oh, Crossing Park.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, but the tent's in a different spot. We were kind of up away.
Yeah.
And this
To-
way
to-
we should be down in the middle of things.
Right. We're going to be down in the ball field. We were up sort of close to the.
Crossing Park's the one on Parsons Road.
Yep.
right? Okay.
Mhm. Right. And so that's where things stand right now. We need to also begin maybe considering to have some sort of meeting. Perhaps the next time we meet, we could devote some time to starting to think about America 250, because when we'll have a year basically before we get to 2026. And as long as we have some things clearly set down that we know we're doing. I know Kathy was talking about doing a big sort of longest dining table or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. A friend of mine, he is doing them up in Cowan Township. He's one of the commissioners there, Mark Evans. So he did one in June.
Mhm.
Couldn't go because I was out of town, but it looked wonderful. So we'll see. I'm meeting with him in a couple weeks about that.
Okay. Maybe I was thinking that perhaps we could see if we can plan our next meeting for November. So perhaps if we do meet in November, that would be a good time to talk about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'll have met with him then and understand what they did, and that would be great.
Yeah. Sounds good. So there's, the website is basically where it's been. There have been a few handful of new items put up there, but nothing prominent. I am going to have the revised Mason-Dixon brochure will go up there as a document rather than a brochure. It'll be more easy to read. And at some point we will have a brochure on the arc, the wedge, and the horn, which, while it's not in our township, is a subject of local interest. And I'm hoping to have that done in early October. There is going to be a 40th anniversary celebration of the establishment of the White Clay Creek Preserve coming up in October. I forget the exact date. Probably mid-October. The 19th sticks in my head for some reason, but I don't know that that's correct. So there'll be a lot going on over in the preserve down around the Welsh Baptist Church down there. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for something to do in October. It should be good. And there'll be tours, sort of explanatory tours of the buildings and their significance down there. And there may be a walking tour showing you the old mill races. And there is a surviving very low dam somewhat north of there on the what DCNR calls the middle branch of the White Clay, and what the federal government calls the White Clay, as I discovered recently. So I think those would be, fairly interesting. And the brochures for the Mason-Dixon line and the ARC will be there. There will be information on a lot of topics, including the railroad that ran through the preserve. Tim Barnikoff, who's been working on a book about the preserve generally and its history, has put together a couple sort of 2x3 poster boards that are actually dense with information. So there will be a lot worth seeing if you're interested and free and can go. So not much has happened with respect to the identification of historic resources in Big Elk. I want to do a little more work, but that's going to wait till the winter. I did a little at the end of the spring. But if anybody wants to go out, when I'm going out, I'll let people know. I don't know how much remains to be pulled out of that. But there are a couple areas. There was a dam on the Big Elk that went from spanned from Franklin to Elk Township. And it was above the Circusville Road Bridge, not too far above it. So it's like the third dam that spanned the creek there, because there's the big one that still survives and is breached near where the paper mill was, and then there was the old paper mill dam further above that. So the one that's lower down, I want to try and document a little better, because there's protected land on both sides, so you can get into it. And there are a couple places like that, but I think it's largely done. It just needs more detail added to it. We'll have to see. We have a talk in New London coming up on, let's see here, September 12th, entitled Hinsonville's Heroes. And it's by Dr. Cheryl Gooch, who actually wrote a book, Hinsonville's Heroes, Black Civil War Soldiers of Chester County, Pennsylvania. Hinsonville was an African-American community near what's now Lincoln University. It doesn't exist anymore. The church survives that was there. And so she'll be giving this talk on September 12th at the New London Academy, which unfortunately happens to be the same day as a meeting in Oxford. So I think at some point we're going to have to talk with New London about possibly considering if there's a way of changing the day. And then in November 14th, also in New London, Sarah Beth is going to give a talk on the covered bridges of the Avon Grove area. And she'll also have copies of her book. And that should be an interesting one. And she's going to focus on the bridges over the Elk Creek and White Clay Creek for that. So I'm looking forward to be able to attend that one. I'm not going to be able to attend the Hinsonville one, unfortunately, because I'll be traveling.
There's
Thought you might have something.
I should have looked it up. There's a talk coming up in the Kennett Library. I think it's called Speaking of History, the series. Lynn Sinclair Maybe Kennet Underground Railroad is sort of putting that on.
Let me see if,
And that's coming up, but I don't know when. I
let me see
meant
if
to
I've
look it up.
got, because I get
Hmm.
Lynn's emails.
She also gave a talk on the Nosneski family in June.
Right.
And that might be of interest to either Oxford or New London.
Okay.
Talks about an immigrant family in Kennett Square, but it's sort of a universal story of, you know, immigrants making good, I suppose. A Russian Jewish immigrant who came to the Kennett Square area in 1903 and ended up owning like a third of the town by 1950.
That sounds like a success
Well,
story.
yeah, it's interesting what he went through and what he did. And the Nosneski family was pretty big in Kennett when I moved there in 1972, but nobody's left now. But they had a big scrap business, several junkyards. They recycled all kinds of things. So the truck that I have used to say, Jacob Nosneski hides, fat, what else? Hides, fat, scrap metal, Kennett Square, PA. So,
Let's see. Speaking of history, they suffered so. This is
yes, that's
Cliff Parker is going to be,
Yeah.
so he's the director of the Chester County Archives, and it sounds like it's going to be on the effects of the British encampment on the
that's what it is. Yeah.
township and what was the village of Kennet and is now the borough. So that's going to be September 15th at 1 p.m. at the Kennet Library. And it is an event that you can reserve a seat. So if anyone wants me to forward this to you, I can. Or I can just go ahead and forward it, and then you can decide. Forward Kennet talk.
Sorry about that.
No, also, on the township website, under where they list our meetings and they actually have the Zoom, there is actually a link to an ICS file, which will create a calendar event if you download it and import it. And it's useful because if you do that, basically, I believe the Zoom link for the meeting is a fixed link. In other words, it's always the same. So if you actually go ahead and import that, you don't have to go looking for the link every month if your calendar is accessible from your computer. So, but you're basically looking for a link that ends in ICS, .ics. And then you have to import it into your calendar, like Google Calendar, for example.
There's also a fellow, maybe I mentioned this last time, named David Porter.
Yeah.
You familiar with him?
Yeah, I
He
know
posts a
David.
lot of Facebook stuff
Right.
about Kemblesville, pictures and all kinds of things.
Has it? Yeah, I follow, I'm not say a devoted user of Facebook, but I usually
I'm
check
not
out,
either.
I'm going to have to.
But it usually comes, I guess, I'm not literate enough to know, but I guess if you put his name in, you'll see all the posts
Right.
that he's
Yeah,
done.
you can
and then
go, you can basically go.
Then you can
and-
pick out the ones
Right.
that are of interest. But he also apparently has a museum of sorts in
in his
Elkton.
house.
In his
Yeah.
house, yeah.
Yeah. And with a heavy focus on Chester County.
Yeah.
And so we have talked about with New London, the Historical Society, perhaps doing a talk that would be focused on local history, smaller museums such as Scott Steele's Museum in West Grove, the
There's
the
one in-
facilities that the Oxford Historical
Yeah,
Association has.
and then Lynn Sinclair's little
Right.
museum in Kennet.
There's actually a surprising number of little ones floating around. And so the thought was that maybe we could have, say, Scott and David come in and talk, and then also present additional information on other museums. So that may be a future talk.
Mhm.
We'll see. And I'd like to get Karen Marshall back because her book is out, and it's going to be the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II next year.
Oh, yeah, it will be. My gosh.
So her book, basically, in terms of her father's experience there, spans the war in Europe from like D-Day till almost a year later. Not quite. It was April, I think, when it ended. So it would be nice to have her come back and talk, because for one, she'll have books that the people who are interested can buy.
Yeah, Japan surrendered
August.
yesterday or a couple
Yeah.
days ago, the
Yeah.
official surrender.
Yeah, but it was in August. It may have actually been early May for
Yeah, that
Germany,
was
the signed
VE
surrender.
Day was
Yeah,
May.
the signed surrender. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but her father ended up in Bavaria, in Tegernsee. Tegernsee? No, something. Tegernsee is the lake. Something on Tegernsee. I can't remember the town. Anyway, that's where Heinrich Himmler had a summer
Oh,
home.
geez.
And he was actually in charge of securing Himmler's summer home. So it was sort of it wasn't, except for that, it was rather uneventful progress for the 22nd across Europe once they got across the Rhine, because defenses were essentially evaporating, except in rare instances. But that was sort of an ending, and I'm not giving anything away by saying this, but he ended up with volume 1 of a small sort of, trade size 2-volume edition of Mein Kampf that had been the personal possession of Heinrich Himmler and his father. The volume 2 ended up in the hands of another intelligence officer, and both volumes are now in the Jewish/Holocaust Museum in Manhattan. They found their way there separately. The second volume earlier and the first volume later, when after Karen's father died, and they were trying to figure out what to do with it, and they realized it was in Manhattan. So that in itself is something of an interesting story. She took it to the book barn and asked them if they could tell her anything about it, and they kind of looked at her like she'd brought in some sort of, Nazi memorabilia hot potato, and it wasn't like she was trying to make money off of it. She was simply didn't know what to do with it. So
Can't believe that place is still there.
well, I mean,
It's just,
some of us occasionally read books printed on paper.
I didn't mean it as a statement, other than I'm just, every time we go up to Westchester, it's like,
Yeah.
holy crap,
Well,
it's still there. That's
I mean,
all.
book collectors go there because they deal in a lot of unusual stuff. And, in this day and age, if you've got old books and you're trying to figure out what to do with them, they're one of the few places that will take them. And so things that we would have, like, we were doing some downsizing, and things that might have gone to Goodwill or something ended up going to the Book Barn because they were perfectly willing to take 3 or 4 cartons of books. And we really couldn't find a home for them otherwise. I'm not about to go on eBay and try and peddle them. I don't even know if they're worth anything. But
There is a good place to get rid of books in January. The Unionville Chadsford School District has the PTA has a huge book sale.
okay.
And it's got a website or Facebook page, UCF book sale, and they have everything categorized. So if you're looking for books, they have tables full of categories, and so you take your books there, vintage books,
Mhm.
and they're all science books, math books, automotive books, art books.
Mhm.
And it's packed, with people, and they're reasonably priced. And Sunday, you can take a shopping bag and fill it for $5 if,
Yeah, the American Association, I think the Association of American University Women used to do book sales. I don't know if they still do.
Anyway, that's a good way to start sorting your books and I have 2 or 3 boxes ready to go next year.
Sounds good. I don't have anything to report on revisions to those historic district ordinance. That's fallen by the wayside for the moment too. So there's nothing there. Anybody have any new business that they want to bring before the Harbor Historical Commission or both? No? Okay. Well, we have no members of the public. So I think if there's no further comment, we can adjourn at 8:08, which I think makes this meeting an hour. So I hope you all have a nice evening, and I think take a look at your schedules. It seems to me like we don't have a crying need to meet in October, but if we're going to meet, I'd rather meet in November rather than early December, but I don't know what your schedules look like. I'll send something out to see which upcoming meeting date looks best, and then we can plan to schedule a meeting then, unless something requires a meeting before or after that date. Because we only have to meet once a quarter, and there's not a lot of pressing business right now. So unless something happens that needs attention, it's a busy time of year, and I think it'll just be easier on everyone if we see if we can sort of plan for a given date right now.
Well, the first Tuesday in November is election day. Thank you.
Oh, yes, we
Oh,
won't be
boy.
meeting then.
So
You know what? And that also reminds me, I'm gonna have to vote absentee because I have a memorial service that weekend for my friend who died a year ago around then, and we're planning to stay up for a long weekend to be with her partner to help out with the memorial service and things like that. So, yeah. I forgot
Sorry
about.
for your loss, Paul.
No, I mean, she was 85. She lived a good life. It was pancreatic cancer, and it was caught relatively early, which almost never happens. But the way it was, the way it sort of embraced tissues and I don't know if there are arteries or veins, but it was not readily operable. And because of her age, she wasn't doing very well with the chemo. So radiation, actually, they couldn't do chemo. So yeah, it was unfortunate, but she did lead a good life, and as much as I miss her, I was privileged to know her while she was with us, and I'm happy for that. All right, so we can consider ourselves adjourned, and a good evening to you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I have to turn this off underneath somehow.
Yeah, I can show you. I just have to stop the.